Shalom, shalom, family. Most High in Christ bless. Most High in Christ bless. Let me know if you can see and hear me clearly. Let me know if you can see and hear me clearly. You get some wise thumbs up. Okay, all praises, all praises, all praises. Hey, can we get a brother or a soldier to scribe? A brother or a soldier, if we can get a brother or soldier to scribe. We'll get started in just a minute. Um, you're tuned in to IUIC 4 chapters a day. I'm Officer Kimmy Well, IUIC Orlando Camp, where we read the entire Bible from beginning to end, Genesis to Revelation, in 1 year, 4 chapters at a time. All right. Um, Pray you all have been gleaning something off of the readings, um, that you're growing in the spirit. Um, so we are going to get started. I'm gonna give about 3 minutes. That'll be 4:10. Uh, shouldn't take us too long today because these are not long chapters at all. What did you say? No, I'm good. I'm good. Hey, I'm not as tech savvy as some of the other brothers. I would be playing some music for y'all and stuff like that. Like Officer Get a Lie. I got to get up with Officer and Captain Zakar and see how they do that. All right. So who's gonna scribe? Who is going to scribe? Who's got the scribe today? Okay, we'll get started in a minute. Pray y'all week is beginning well as it can be in captivity. I pray for our leadership, the bishop, the deacons. Keep bringing out this truth and wisdom so we can get up out of this place. How do you scribe? Just where it says write comments, like what you typing now. Just put the scripture that we're reading. All right. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Um, this is the book of Judges, chapter 21. All right, in verse 1. Now the men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah, saying, there shall not any of us give his daughter unto Benjamin to wife. And the people came to the house of God and abode there till even before God, and lifted up their voices and wept sore, and said, O Lord God of Israel, why has this come to pass in Israel, that there should be today one tribe lacking in Israel? And it came to pass on the morrow that the people rose early and built there an altar and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said, who is there among all the tribes of Israel that came not up with the congregation unto the Lord? For they had made a great oath concerning him that came not up to the Lord to Mizpah, saying, he shall surely be put to death. And the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said, there is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. If if you remember back in the previous chapter, um, the tribes went to war against Benjamin. Okay, that you would have covered yesterday if you were watching. So that's why I'm gonna read that again. Verse 6, it says, and the children of Israel repented them for Benjamin their brother, and said, there is one tribe cut off from Israel this day. How shall we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them of our daughters to wife? Okay, so they said we made a vow, we made an oath, we swore to the Lord that we would not give them of our daughters to wife. All right, we still don't have a scribe. Is there anyone that can scribe? Anyone that can scribe? Okay, let me see if I'm gonna have to. No one. We don't have no scribes. Okay. All right. Let me go back. Judges chapter 21, verse 7. How should we do for wives for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them our daughters to wives? Okay. So when you read in Numbers chapter 30, because it says we have sworn, we have sworn to the Lord, right? So when you read in Numbers chapter 30, chapter 30 and 1, it says, and Moses spake unto the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. Okay. So let's go back and read Judges 21 and 7. How shall we do for the wives, for them that remain, seeing we have sworn by the Lord? That's what we were just reading the law right there. Um, if you swear unto the Lord that you got to perform that oath. All right. Um, seeing we have sworn by the Lord that we will not give them our daughters to wives. And they said, one, what one is there of the tribes of Israel that came not up to Mizpah to the Lord? And behold, there came none from the camp of Jabesh Gilead to the assembly. For the people were numbered, and behold, there were none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead there. And the congregation sent thither 12,000 men of the valiantest, and commanded them, saying, Go and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead with the edge of the sword, with the women and with the children. And this is the thing that you shall do. You shall utterly destroy every male and every woman that hath lain by man. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 young virgins that had not known man by lying with any male, that they brought them up unto the camp to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Okay, so that's a precept for um, to know somebody, meaning to have sex with them or to lie with them. Okay, verse 13. And the whole congregation sent some to speak to the children of Benjamin that were in the rock Ramon, and to call peaceably unto them. And Benjamin came again at that time, and they gave them wives which they had saved alive of the women of Jabesh Gilead. And yet so they sufficed them not. For the people repented for the people repented them for Benjamin, because that the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. Then the elders of the congregation said, How shall we do for the wives of them that remain, seeing the women are destroyed out of Benjamin? And they said, There must be an inheritance for them that be escaped of Benjamin, that a tribe be not destroyed out of Israel. Verse 18. Howbeit, we may not give them wives of our daughters, for the children of Israel have sworn, saying, Cursed be he that giveth a wife to Benjamin. That's what we read earlier in verse 7. Verse 19. Then they said, Behold, there is a feast of the Lord in Shiloh, yearly in a place which is on the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goeth up from Bethel to Shechem, on the south of Lebonah. Therefore they commanded the children of Benjamin, saying, Go and lie in wait in the vineyards, and see, and behold, if the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in the dances, then come ye out of the vineyards, and catch you every man his wife of the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And it shall be, when their fathers or their brethren come unto us to complain, that we will say unto them, Be favorable unto them for our sakes, because we reserve not to each man his wife in the war. For ye did not give unto them at this time, that ye should be guilty. And the children of Benjamin did so, and took them wives according to the number of them that danced, whom they caught. And they went and returned unto their inheritance, and repaired the cities, and dwelt in them. And the children of Israel departed thence at that time, every man to his tribe and to his family. And they went out from thence, every man to his inheritance. In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. You know, we see that same thing today. Um, our people, most of our people are still in that state, but we're doing what's right in our own eyes. Okay, so there ain't nothing new under the earth. Bear with me just a second. Okay, all right. So let's go to the book of Ruth, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled. All right. So if you're trying to put Ruth in a time frame, Ruth was in the same time of the judges. All right. And it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went out to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his two sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi, and the name of his two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left her two sons. And they took them wives of Moab, of the women of Moab. The name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. The name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them. And the woman was left of her two sons and her husband. Okay? So it says they took them wives of the women of Moab. Now remember what we just read in Judges 21:25, and it said, in those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. So when we were sojourning in Israel, in Moab, were we supposed to take wives of the women of Moab? Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 23. Hey, Shalom Cap. All right, all praises, all praises. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 3, it says, an Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation, they shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. Okay, so we were not supposed to be marrying with women of Moab. All right, but now, was this the first time that we dealt with Moabite women? Let's go to Numbers 25. The answer is no, it's not the first time. Numbers chapter 25 and verse 1. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their God, and the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. Okay, and the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. Okay, from there, hold on a second. Let me go to First Ezra, chapter 8 and verse 69. Let's read about the time in the time of Ezra. What were we doing then? First Ezra chapter 8 and verse 69. Okay, and it reads, the nation of Israel, the princes, the priests, and Levites have not put away from them the strange people of the land. I want y'all to remember that. It says strange people of the land, nor the pollutions of the Gentiles, to wit, of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, and the Moabites. Okay, and the Moabites, Egyptians, and Edomites. All right. So it wasn't the first time that we dealt with it wasn't the first time that we dealt with Moab. All right. So let's go back to Ruth, chapter 1, and read verse 4 again. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them. And the woman was left of her two sons and her husband. So now the sister Naomi, um, she didn't have her husband, she didn't have her sons anymore. All right. Verse 6. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her two daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way and returned. They went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her two daughters-in-law, Go, return each to her mother's house, and the Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. So when it says in verse 9, the Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. That's because that your husband, um, the man is supposed to leave an inheritance. Okay? The man is supposed to leave an inheritance. Matter of fact, this just popped in my mind. Let me find this in Proverbs. Proverbs 13. Bear with me just a second. Bear with me just a second. Didn't have this precept in this Bible here. All right, all praises, all praises. All right, let's get that. Proverbs. Yeah, I'm in the right chapter. Proverbs 13. There we go. And 22. Proverbs 13 and 22. It says, A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. So a good man leaveth an inheritance unto his children's children. Well, how are we going to leave an inheritance? First, you have to work, right? 1 Timothy 5 and 8. And you have to be wise with how you deal with your money. All right. So let's go back. Ruth chapter 1, verse 9, it says, The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. So I want to skip ahead a little bit to give some understanding. Let's go to chapter 4, and we're going to read verse 5 only. We only going to read verse 5 because y'all going to cover this, Lord willing, tomorrow. It says, Then said Boaz, What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. Okay? Upon his inheritance. Remember that. Let's get the law concerning that. Because you're supposed to leave something behind. All right? You're not supposed to leave your wife and your children desolate. You ain't supposed to leave them with a gang of bills. All right, we're going to read an example of that also. All right, so we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 5. We know when you got that. Deuteronomy chapter 25 and verse 5. It says, If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger, but her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. Now, as we read on, you're going to see this is dealing with an inheritance, okay? We ain't in the land. We don't have that land inheritance no more. So don't none of y'all be wicked and be looking at your brother's wife, all right? All right, that's we don't get down like that. All right. Verse 6, and it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name not be put out of Israel. Okay, that was very important to us. So the thing is that when you go in unto your brother's wife and raise up seed, that first child is basically your brother's child. Okay, he's gonna get the rights of inheritance as if your brother was still alive. You raising up seed to your brother to keep his name still in the earth today. Okay, verse 7. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of the city shall call him and speak unto him. And if he stand to it and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders and loose his shoe from off his foot. As I'm sorry, let me read that again. Then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders and loose his shoe from off his foot and spit in his face and shall answer and say, so it shall be done unto the man that will not build up his brother's house. You see that? That's the whole purpose of it. Keeping his name going. You're building your brother's house up. All right. And his name shall be called in Israel the house of him that hath his shoe loosed. All right. So let's go back to Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 19. So let's get a little understanding on what we just read. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 14. And it reads, am I there? No, that's not it. There we go. Houses and riches are the inheritance of fathers. Read that again. Houses and riches are the inheritance of fathers. A prudent wife is from the Lord. All right. So it's important for us to build our legacy and to be able to pass that down. All right. That's one of the things that we lack in Israel today. Just thought about something when I said that. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. This is why we find ourselves in this position right here, because we don't have the mind to build. Um, some of us, we use, well, we in captivity as an excuse to not try to better ourselves or as an excuse to not build. All right. But we're going to see that's not the case. All right. So it says, Deuteronomy 23 or 28 and 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So does that mean that we just throw in the towel, we give up, we don't, hey, I would get a job, but it's captivity. You know what I'm saying? I would go and try to further my education so that I could do more for myself and my family and the body, but we in captivity. No, that's not what the scriptures say. Here's proof of that. Let's go to Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah. It's at 29. So this was said during the time of Jeremiah when we were in captivity under the Babylonians for 70 years. Let's see what the Lord said to Jeremiah. Build ye houses and dwell in them. Plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. When it says build ye houses, that doesn't just mean physically. That means you're still going to continue to build up your name. You're going to continue to build up your house. Okay? Strengthen your seed, strengthen your family line. All right. Take ye wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased there and not diminished. Okay, so when you're making babies, you got to have a place for them to stay, right? You got to have a place for your wife. You got to have you got to be able to feed them, right? Clothe them. So when you building up your house, and that goes also into spiritually building up your house. Okay, you got to be able to teach them. You understand? So, um, it's not that because we in captivity, you just throw in the towel. Nah, that's not what the Lord commanded for us. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Let's go back to no. From there, let's get Jeremiah. I'm sorry, not Jeremiah. Let's get Genesis. Genesis 49 and 3. Genesis 49 and 3. Genesis chapter 49 and verse 3. Don't want that yet. Wait a minute. Let me go back. Let me see. Don't want that yet. Yeah, I'll pull that. Genesis chapter 49 and 3. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Okay? So you want somebody to carry on your name. All right. In this case, we're reading about the firstborn. All right. So that's why when we read that law in Deuteronomy 25, let's go back to Deuteronomy 25 right quick in verse 6, which says, and it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. Let's get one more. Let's get First Chronicles chapter 5. First Chronicles chapter 5 and verse 1. First Chronicles chapter 5, verse 1. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for, for he was the firstborn, but for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright, that's the point I wanted to get to, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel. And the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright. So that firstborn was given the birthright. So it's very important that at that time, because of our inheritance, that you would go and you would go in unto your brother's wife and raise up seed. Okay. Again, we're not under that no more. So, brothers, and I'm being very sincere when I say this because I know of somebody personally that pulled that scripture to try to get with his brother's wife after his brother passed away. That is wicked as hell. And that was Israelites that did that. It was wicked as hell. All right. So let's go back. Um, Ruth chapter 2, verse 9. The Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. So let me get you one more. Let's go to the Apocrypha. Let's go get an example in the book of Judith. Let's get an example of this. The book of Judith. And we're going to start at chapter 8 and verse 4. Judith chapter 8, verse 4. All right. And it says, so Judith was a widow in her house 3 years and 4 months. And she made her a tent upon the top of her house, and put on sackcloth upon her loins, and wear her widow's apparel. And she fasted all the days of her widowhood, save the eves of the Sabbaths, and the Sabbaths, and the eves of the new moons, and the new moons, and the feasts and solemn days of the house of Israel. She was also of goodly countenance and very beautiful to behold. And her husband Manasseh, here's the point, and her husband Manasseh had left her gold and silver and men servants and maid servants and cattle and lands, and she remained upon them. Okay, it says that she remained upon them. So when we go back and read Ruth one more time, chapter 1, verse 9, the Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. So now, what is that saying? Because in the land of Moab, where they were, that there should be an inheritance left them of their husbands. All right. So um, she said, and the Lord grant you that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them and lifted up their voice, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say, I have hope, if I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? So what is she saying? Even if I did have some sons conceived tonight, you gonna wait till they grown? Would ye stay for them having husbands? Or would you stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. So even though that they were widows, she's saying, "Are you if somebody wants to marry you, you're not gonna marry because you're gonna wait for my sons to grow up? No, you're not gonna do that." Now, she was free from her responsibility with them. Her husband had died. Her sons, which were their husbands, had died. The sons left inheritances for their wives. But I want to show you something because she said, would you wait until my sons were grown? In Israel, let's go to 1 Timothy 5. In Israel, okay, this doesn't apply to them, but in Israel, this is what the scriptures say about the widows. Okay, let's get 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 11. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 11. It says, but the younger widows refuse. For when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry. Okay? The younger widows refuse. So they wouldn't be the responsibility of the church. All right? So what the scriptures are saying is that if you are a widow at a young age, you still got, years that you can birth children and stuff like that, that urge is going to come upon you. More than likely, that urge is going to come upon you. So she's saying, I'm not going to put you under that oath that you're going to stay and wait for me to have more children. Okay. She knew that's not likely that's going to happen. All right. Let's go back to Ruth chapter 1, verse 14. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. Okay. I'm not even gonna get into that, but and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. So they're from the land of Moab. Orpah returned and went back unto her people and unto her gods. All right, so it says she returned unto her people and unto her gods. Let's get Psalms. Get Psalms chapter 96 and verse 5. Psalms chapter 96 and verse 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Okay. All the gods of the nations are idols. So when it said She returned back to her people and to her gods. Those were idols. Okay. Let's go from there. Numbers chapter 21. So the Numbers 21. Let's see about those gods. Okay. Let's see about those gods. Numbers chapter 21, verse 29. It says, woe to thee, Moab, thou art undone, O people of Chemosh. Okay, O people of Chemosh, he hath given his sons that escape and his daughters into the captivity unto Sihon, king of the Amorites. The part I wanted you to see is, woe unto thee, Moab, thou art undone, O people of Chemosh. Chemosh was the god that they were serving. Let's go to First Kings. Let's go to First Kings chapter 11. We're going to read, we're going to start at verse 4. I'm going to jump. All right. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Asherah, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Amorites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Then did Solomon build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab. Okay, so we see it numerous times that um, the Moabites, that was the God that they served. So let's go back to Ruth chapter 1, verse 15. And it says, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. Verse 16. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. And thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and where I will be buried, the Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. So she was determined. She said, now my sister-in-law, she may have gone back, but I'm gonna cleave unto you, Naomi. All right. So now let's get some examples of that. Because she said, entreat me not to leave thee or to return from following after thee. Don't put me away, is what she's saying. All right. Let's get Matthew 15. We read this all the time. We read this almost every camp. Matthew 15:24. Now, the reason I'm bringing this out is because does that mean she's going to inherit the kingdom as a Moabite? No, no. And remember what we read at the end of Judges 21 and 25. There was no king in Israel, so everybody did according to their own ways. Okay. This is Matthew 15:24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. And she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. So she acknowledged her place in the hierarchy, okay, under Israel. Verse 28. Then, then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. You hear what he says to her? Great is thy faith. Because she acknowledged who he is and who she is and who the children of Israel are. Be it unto thee, even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Okay, let's get another example. Let's get another example. Let's go to the book of Joshua. We read this not too long ago. Joshua chapter 6 and verse 25. And Joshua saved Rahab the harlot alive, and her father's household, and all that she had. And she dwelleth in Israel even unto this day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. So why did she do that? Because when we read that history, you know that she understood that the fame went out amongst all the nations of what our God did for us, right? And it said that she said unto the spies that the hearts of their men had melted. They feared us. All right. So she knew who God was dealing with, the true living God. All right. So she did that act. And because she did that act, her and her father's house was spared. Let's get another example. Let's go to Genesis chapter 30. All right. Genesis chapter 30 and verse 27. This is when our forefather Jacob was serving Laban. All right. Genesis chapter 30, verse 27. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. Okay, so Laban knew where his blessings was coming from, because if you remember that history, when Jacob got there, Laban had small. He didn't have great wealth, but he increased because our forefather Jacob was there. Okay, all right. So let's go back and pick up at Ruth chapter 1, verse 18. Let me see what time it is. Okay, Ruth chapter 1, verse 18. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So the two went until they came to Bethlehem, and it came to pass when they were there, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, this Naomi? And she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. All right. So let's go to Ruth chapter 2, verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband, a mighty man of wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him, in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned the field after the reapers. And her hap was to light on the part of the field belonging unto Boaz, who was of the kindred of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered him, the Lord bless thee. Then said Boaz unto the servant that was set over the reapers, whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, it is the Moabitish damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. And she said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and hath continued, even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide here fast by my maidens. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go after them, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? When thou art athirst, thou shalt go unto the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. And she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest take knowledge of me, seeing I am a stranger? Okay, seeing I am a stranger. So I said, remember that stranger right there. We're gonna go back and just to refresh your memories, go back to First Ezra, chapter 8, verse 69. First Ezra, chapter 8, verse 69. The nation of Israel, the princes, the priests, the Levites, have not put away from them the strange people of the land, nor the pollutions of the Gentiles, to wit, of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, and the Moabites. Okay, and the Moabites. So she said that she acknowledged that she was a stranger. Let's get Leviticus 25. Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus 25 and verse, I'm going to start at 44. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. Okay? And they shall be your possession. So, yes, when we get in the kingdom, this will be in place. All right? Now, let's go back. Ruth chapter 2, verse 11. And Boaz answered and said unto her, It hath fully been showed me all that thou hast done unto my mother-in-law since the death of thine husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knowest not heretofore. The Lord recompense thy work, and full reward be given thee of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou art come to trust. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thine handmaids. And Boaz said unto her, At mealtime come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip thy morsel in the vinegar. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and she did eat, and was sufficed and left. And when she was risen up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Let her glean even among the sheaves, and reproach her not. And let fall also some of the handfuls of purpose for her, and leave them, that she may glean them, and rebuke her not. For she gleaned in the field until even, and beat out that she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up, and went into the city, and her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she had brought forth, and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And her mother-in-law said unto her, Where hast thou gleaned today? And where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, The man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, The man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinmen. And Ruth the Moabitess said, and Ruth the Moabitess said, And he said unto me also, thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended all my harvest. And Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the barley, to glean unto the end of the barley harvest of the wheat and of the wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. Okay, so that is the conclusion of chapter 2. And this is Ruth chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, my daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor, and make not thyself known unto the man, until he shall have done eating and drinking. And it shall be, when he lieth down, that thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And she said unto her, all that thou sayest unto me, I will do. And she went down unto the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn, and she came softly and uncovered his feet and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. Okay, so it said, spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid. All right, so let's see what that means. Let's see what that means. And Deacon Athan did, trying to think of the name of that class he did not too long ago, but he went into uh, skirt, what it means, and the different dress and apparel. If anybody can remember the name of that class, damn, I can't think of it right now. Post it. If anybody remember the name of that class, excellent class. I'm gonna read out of the Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary, um, page 137. All right, Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary, page 137. It says, the basic garments in general use among the men of biblical times seem to have consisted of an inner tunic and a tunic coat, the girdle and the cloak. Added to this was the headdress and the shoes or sandals. The word skirt, found a number of times in the Bible, usually refers to an article of male and not female clothing, and has a number of meanings. Extremity, as in Ruth chapter 3, verse 9. Okay? All right. So when she said, I'm going to read that again in Ruth chapter 3, verse 9. And he said, who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread thy skirt, therefore, over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. And he said, blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. And now, you know what? It said that thou hast not followed young men, whether poor or rich, right? She was trying to find somebody to raise up seed. Even though she was a Moabite, she was following the customs of Israel. She's trying to find someone to raise up seed for her Lord. But when he says, thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich, remember, when we go back, let's read this one more time in Ruth chapter 1, verse 13. When Naomi said, Would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters. So Boaz is now saying, you've shown much kindness because you're trying to do this for your Lord. Okay, you're trying to keep his name in the earth. You could have went after other men, but no, you're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to keep the laws of Israel. All right. This is Ruth chapter 3, verse 11. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. Now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit, there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then I will do the part of a kinsman to thee. As the Lord liveth, lie down until the morning. And she lay at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before one could know another. All right, we already read that precept for no, meaning to, in this case, to lie down and have sex with each other. All right. So and he said, let it not be known that a woman came in into the floor. Also he said, bring a veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her. And she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley gave he me, for he said unto me, go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. Then she said, sit still, my daughter, until thou know the matter, how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day. All right. So that is the conclusion of Judges chapter 21 to Ruth chapter 3. Um, if you have any questions, as always, go to the 4 chapters a day and leave your questions for the captains. The captains will review your questions and answer them. All right. Remember, we got classes 3 times a day, 7 days a week. Go to www.israelunite.org. All right. And you can also donate at iuic.fundraising@israelunite.org. All right. So with that, I'm going to say shalom. Stay in the spirit, family. Most High in Christ bless you all.